It should be live any second. I sometimes need to check my phone actually.
Or like the download speed or something, streaming
Well,
speed.
I just need to check that it's live.
On a different account. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're good. Perfect. It is now on. Brilliant. So great. We're now live. So I'm with Richard Tulley from Richard Tulley Sports Massage, and what we're going to be talking about today is kind of based on what Rich does and what I do as well, but also like looking at it from, I guess, a broader picture and looking at actually what health actually means to you, because that can dictate what we kind of want, what we do, our feelings, our thoughts, the psychology, the physiology, etc. So before we go into that though, I'm going to let Rich introduce himself. So if you want to introduce yourself, Rich.
Hello, Richard Tulley. Thanks, Matt, for this. It's been kind of exciting to get the message through from this meeting, and then just talk and show some kind of feelings on the internet and everything from a different perspective. So yeah, my name is Richard Tulley. I'm a sports massage therapist, living and working in Marlborough and Burbage, and I've been doing it for 9 years. And yeah, obviously currently in lockdown, so trying to survive and think about different ideas, connecting with fellow professionals like yourself, and just seeing if I can, help and build something, add to your business, try and build my business as well. And yeah, just reach out to other fellow professionals. I think it's a healthy thing to do. It's not a competitive thing. I think, whatever aspects that I see from my angle can help, and then definitely your angle can help mine as well. So yeah, I think it's a relationship builder time really for me.
It's definitely interesting, isn't it? Because obviously you've seen people before in the past, and you've kind of said like, oh right, if you're not sure maybe in certain individuals where to start, or if you want an introduction, because a lot of exercise can be overwhelming and intimidating for a lot of people, because you might see a live workout online at the moment, or back pre this, you would look at a gym and feel intimidated by guys in there, etc., and think, what, that's not for me, when actually you're thinking, well, you need to do these exercises.
It's hugely, I think any kind of industry that you look at is going to be massively intimidating. One, because they've been so long doing that, so they then have a conditioning and traditional history with that kind of affiliation with that sport. So they're going to be far more better drilled at it through kind of history and knowledge. Then you look at like DNA. So if you think you're going to go into a gym and compete with someone that's been there for that amount of time longer, you don't know how they are at that stage of their journey, and you're coming in at that stage. How can you even begin to compete with someone at that one? So yeah, it can be very intimidating going into gyms, which I think online platform is really strong, because you can do it without feeling intimidated, but also then you have that bond with people, because then you can do seminars like you do and chatting and everything. So it's really, really strong. One-on-one is fantastic, but not everyone has the time, but also then the money to do one-on-ones as well. So yeah.
It's been really interesting, isn't it? Like, I mean, like with the live Q&A we did yesterday, Dr. Adam Bibby in the group, like enabling everyone to, there's almost more of a community online at the moment than, because some ladies who maybe couldn't get to certain sessions, etc., were able to actually participate in these seminars, and or feel the need that actually, I'm going to get involved with this workout that I can just roll out of bed and do. So yeah, there are benefits to it. So yeah, it's good. So
I kind of think there's no excuse anymore. It's kind of like you're not due anywhere. There's no I'm going to see someone for a 40th birthday party. It's like there's no excuse. Work your schedule better so you can actually do it. And then it comes down to then what we're going to talk about today, which is the mindset. Either you want to do it or you don't. So,
not even the dentist excuse works at the moment, right?
No, not at all.
So if we kind of delve into that now, in terms of what kind of, I guess, health means to you, and also kind of, I guess, the psychology around and how you approach an individual. So if someone comes to you, how would you approach it from a kind of treatment point of view, in terms of like what the injury is, etc., and also from a point of view of, I guess, their lifestyle. So stress, exercise, nutrition, or whatever. Like, because I guess from my point of view, when I look at things, people come to me, I'm thinking from a nutritional perspective, exercise perspective. You might be looking from more, I'll look at movement as well, of course, but solely in like, right, this muscle there, what do you do? So you're seated at a desk a lot, all these things. So yeah, if you could just kind of talk through your approach on that, it'd be good to kind of get out. And if by the way, if anyone has any questions, I will be looking at Facebook as well. So if anyone has any questions for Rich on anything to do with, if you want to touch on injuries or anything like that, or any issues that you have, just comment below and we'll pass them on.
Yeah. So from my aspect, it is very much grown from a personal aspect of how I treat people, how I would want to be treated myself. So that's where I've kind of come from the previous jobs that I've done to then become a therapist 9 to 10 years ago. So how I look at them now to how it's evolved, it used to just be literally I was finding my way around and then just massaging. Then I'd say probably 2 or 3 years into it, I really actually wanted to know about the clients and understand their personality. So I was asking many more different questions, more angled questions. Then I studied a little bit more psychology of understanding how the person works, because if you're going to treat them and then have a long lasting effect and a relationship with these people, because people are coming to you, which I noticed, which were then through referral rather than I'm going to advertise. So I haven't done any advertising at all for sports massage. I did in the first 2 weeks of trading. I rode around in I think it was a 20-mile radius of where I was working, and just dropped off little leaflets. So I think I spent £16.50 dropping 50p cards in post office and everything, and just like waiting for it to return some, the phone was going to ring. It didn't ring at all. It's the worst bit of advertising I've ever done. So what I know, I was, and my mother, so she's done it for 25 years, so we're kind of mother and son team, and she's like, son, it doesn't work. It's all about referral. It's all about the knowledge and how you interact with them and the relationship that you build. And I was like, all right, okay. So from then, I listened to her because she's my mum, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to listen to her all the time, but it's like, yeah, she's right. She's been doing it for a long time. And I just slowly kind of went right and evolved that kind of, how am I going to not get into the heads of people, but how am I going to be a better person at my job? So with that aspect, you need to then get into how that person moves or approaches the day. So the principles that I love principles, because one, you base foundations on them, but also then you get to figure out people of who they are, and then you kind of elaborate so it's like my treatment, you look at a textbook and just go, right, okay, what's wrong with the leg? You look at that, what would traditionally work. Then sometimes the rule book just goes out the window, so you have to live and just live on your wits and your knowledge and what might or may not work. So I brought it down to the 3 key principles of pretty much life, where it's split into 3. You sleep for a third of your life, you work for a third of your life, and then you do whatever you want to do for the third of your life, whether that's family or whatever. So a third of your life is working. That's a really strong part of who you are. So my first question is, what do you do? And then build a relationship. I was like, oh yeah, you have something in common with that, and you understand the movements that they do within that working environment. So that takes a massive toll. It's very beneficial for your body, but majority it's a toll because you do it so repetitively. So that was one of the first fundamental things that I focused on, was what people do work-wise. Then it stretches into what stage of life they're in, what history they've had as well. So I don't just ask them what job they're currently doing, what history work they've done as well, whether it's sustained career or whether it's just bitty. Physical or sedate, building or sat at a desk. And then they're kind of family and what are the responsibilities, because that can take into account how much time that they put into their body, or what free time they have and what mind space. So that's how I approach it. And then we kind of sit down and say, look, what do you want? I can give you what you want. I can guide you into certain areas. If you want me to fix you, whatever the fix may be, it may be quick, it may be long. It all depends on how much detail or what other problems that are then faced into it as well. So yeah, it was and that's evolved. Whereas it just used to be, right, okay, let's just fix a problem, that's it. Whereas now actually I look at the client more of a case study, as a problem, as issues, and that stems through, listening to some of your podcasts and conversations and thought processes, which are very rewarding for me. Other influences that I have as well, which I've got written down here because in the top of my head they won't be there, so which I can go into. And yeah, I've just thought, wow, how inspiring other people are, and different angles of how they approach have massively benefited me, because it makes me go off in different directions. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's so important to consider, because like you mentioned those 3 areas. So you got sleep, work, and family. If you think about, like, that's a bit like our I'll actually show you now. So we have like 3 F's, and that's kind of encompassed in that, I guess. So I describe it like 3 legs of a stool. So I don't know if that comes up the right way or the wrong way. So yeah. You got the focus side of it. That's more about self-care and family time and doing something for you. The fitness side of it, that's kind of obviously your exercise. Then you've got the food side of it, which is obviously your nutrition. And I guess it kind of sums up what you said about sleep, work, and family, because it's so important. I mean, coming from your perspective, you've got someone coming to you perhaps with pain or something like that. Obviously, if they're not sleeping very well, we know that the body isn't going to recover too well. Your perception of pain is different. So you might perceive pain as higher if you're lacking sleep than if you aren't.
Definitely.
Which is huge, right? And it's very subjective then. For example, a workout can be a lot harder on a day where you're lacking sleep. Like, there really is no substitute for that. And then you mentioned work as well. So with regards to work, yeah, so important in terms of sedentary behavior, how much someone sat down for. And also from my point of view, I look at it from someone says, I've never had to worry about what I eat in my life. Now, all of a sudden, I don't know whether it's age or what, but the pounds are coming on. I don't seem to eat that much. But then we get into it and it's like, yeah, I used to do this job. Now I just seated. They're also little things when we delve into the conversation. Oh yeah, my kids are now away. Okay, what did you used to do when they were there? Oh, before they went to university, we would go on bike rides. We would maybe, drop them off places, go there. We're not really doing anything like that. Little things like, it's like even now, I guess, with the kids being home more, I'm lifting them up more and just carrying them more, which I wouldn't normally do. Like little things like that, yeah, it just add up in terms of calorie burn, like the equation of fat loss, but also, I guess, in terms of what muscles I'm using to pick people up and stuff like that. And they're also at the same time things that people want to do and give them a lot of joy, but not everyone can do them. And that can affect our mindset. And cause stress. And yeah, you've got a lot of aspects on there. So yeah, I think it's those 3 areas. Yeah, just kind of sum it up. And I just wanted to bring that up because obviously
they do. I think that's brilliant. That's really good.
Yeah, so we set a habit in each of these. So the food, the fitness, and the focus area.
Yeah.
Then tick off each day you do it. A bit like a habit tracker.
Yeah, definitely. I've got something very, very similar, and I thought I was OCD, and that's brilliant. So I'm happy I'm normal.
But ultimately, it simplifies it down to a yes or no answer, right? Because when, like we kind of on the podcast the other day with Dr. Adam Bibby, it kind of when we're in our head, it's very hard to rationalize things. We can be very emotionally driven rather than factually driven.
Sure.
Like, rather than did I do it, did I not, you can put a tick or not. That's kind of done with that. Like, if someone wanted really simple nutritional advice now and subconsciously to eat less, it would be, have I eaten protein at every meal? Can I eat 7 vegetables today? If you literally do them 2 things, subconsciously you're going to eat fewer calories, even if you don't track them or what.
Yeah.
And it's the little things like, okay, can I tick that, rather than I can't do it now because I can't meal plan because the family like different foods, or I can't do that, lose weight now because I can't do a keto diet or I'm not allowed to eat carbs because there's carbs in the house. Like all these things that overcomplicate it, so we do kind of nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, hugely. There's the point that you made with adapting to the scenario that we're in, that you're more likely to pick up your kids, and I've got children as well, 8 and 5, and they're eating very well, and they're getting heavier, and it's almost like, yes, would you normally pick them up at a certain time of day? Are you doing that more? The answer is yes. Are you ready to go, as in, and pick them up because they're heavier, and they're picking up some weight, and you're constantly doing it, and they want to have more fun? Whereas then if you look at weights or exercise, I'm not going to do that exercise until I'm warmed up. Well, hang on a second, children, I won't pick you up at the moment because I need to warm up. You're like, Daddy, what's wrong with you? And so I'm very much learning through, yes, I've studied it anyway, but actually subjectively going through it myself. And the fact that I have to be, and I'm feeling the massive benefits of it, ready to go to, if I need to either do some fitness, because I'm at my home and I'm like, right, the schedule's in, and I'm, wow, I'm constantly ready to go. And then picking up my kids as well. So the theory of ready to go theory, which I think is a CrossFit phrase, which I've kind of tuned into, it makes sense. It really does make sense subjectively for what I'm going through. Be interesting to see what body type it makes sense to, and whether you have traditionally trained that. So on my DNA, I've always been very kind of active, and it hurts to be not active. So when I get less active, actually I feel more aches and pains. So actually I feel much better, and I feel more looser if I'm continually moving and doing the correct movements. Now I've really noticed I've put a massive focus on my certain body parts that are not so good, and wow, what a difference. So I'm actually doing what I'm preaching, which is really tough, and it takes a long time. My ankle's taken 9 months to sort out, and it's fantastic at the moment. So I don't want to jinx it, but my hip, it needs a lot of work on, and what I'm doing is fantastic. So yeah, I think the going back to your point, is consistency, longevity, making the right decisions for you to then go on into the future. And now I've kind of opened up that door. It's not going to close. It's never going to close. I'm always going to be this way. So in a way, this time is very fortunate. I'll say that.
I guess all these, and I guess that's helped you as someone who practices this, almost seamlessly transition into this online world at the moment, because you're able to actually ask questions and get. So Rich did a Q&A for the ladies in our group week back, and like you would think, oh, surely you can't do anything because it's not hands-on, but actually a lot of what you were saying were exercise based, specific exercises, range of movement, little tests that you can do, and also looking at other areas, what they've done in the past, who they've seen in the past, all these things that come into it, where you can kind of start to piece a puzzle together. So I guess what's kind of more powerful about that is that you can almost put the onus on the individual and actually start to feel empowered that you can like control yourself. Because actually there's nothing better than receiving, like you said about word of mouth. I spoke about this yesterday of our Q&A with Dr. Adam Bibby about the psychology and addictive behaviors. I would argue I'm almost addicted to getting reviews that make me feel good. Yeah. Like, so when someone goes, I went to Fruci Fit and I couldn't do this, and now I'm getting to the floor, getting up, I can change my grandchildren's nappies, not that that could backfire, but all these things, I now walk up the hill without thinking it. I never take the escalator on the underground, back when now I always take the stairs, and etc. All these things that we get are like, just really empowering to see. And actually then people are like, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then you get that confidence, that self-efficacy.
Hugely. I think if you were to test that person's or view that person's range of movement, you probably go, oh, actually, they're just about managing to go up that escalator, whether they were or not. but what you've given them is the confidence, and then the confidence then will breed that corrective movement over maybe a longer period of time. They may have done it correct anyway, but I think the most important thing to underline there is confidence, which you always go on about, in the fact that any single thing is like, oh, I have, whether the body will always adapt to a certain movement that it can't do. The fact that they were not able to do it in the first instance was confidence, or fear. So, exactly the same thing of like, is something going to happen? I was chatting to a client yesterday, and he's a runner. He does so many, lots of different running, horse riding, and loads of different activity. And I was telling him about my little running kind of session that I'm doing with myself, which is poor in comparison. And he was saying, oh yeah, there's been times where I'm hyperventilating because I can't even run. I'm exhausted. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. It's sorry to say that, but it was lovely to hear that actually someone that is so good at running for such a long period of time, so his resting heart rate can go really, really low, and he can run for miles and everything. And he's just an amazing athlete at the age that he is, which is, not young. I wouldn't say what he is, but it's amazing. I was like, wow, I'm so impressed. It was lovely to hear that he has days when he fails and he cannot run and he just feels exhausted. I was like, oh gosh, he is human. And it's that vulnerability that he knows through himself, that actually he knows those markers and the control, that he has confidence in his body, that actually he can push it when he wants to. But a big thing that came up is that he had a little kind of literally a stabbing dagger in the back of his calf, and he just went, and he slowly built it. He didn't have an injury. He's probably got some kind of issue there. I don't know, but he had the fear that he wasn't able to do it, and then now he's slowly be going back in. Yet his body's yes, it can. So he's built up his confidence, even with all this history of the discipline that he was doing running. And he still has that fear, yet he's slowly, progressively building up through it. So, yeah, even with low-level amateur athletes, they can still have fear.
Yeah, and I think with that, I guess it touches on a theory that we talked about yesterday, actually, about, when someone is, say like, for example, you're doing a 0 to 5K, and you get to week 3 or whatever. You couch to 5K, you get to week 3, and a lot of the ladies will come to me and they'll say, yeah, I'm not sure I can do week 4. And rather than trying and failing, they'd rather not try so they haven't failed, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about it yesterday. It's really interesting in our like a human instinct, if you like, not to want to fail, whether that's because of what other people think, etc. Like, it could be the same with like job interviews. So you might not go for the job just in case you don't get it, and people find out you've gone for it and you haven't got it. And that in itself, that thought of failure, means that it's better not to try and fail, because at least we know we never tried, rather than be perceived as not good enough, which is kind of weird, because I guess we fail anyway by not doing that.
Yeah.
And I guess it comes back down to getting okay with failure and actually learning that failure is something that will eventually lead to success and is actually
makes you better.
I had a chat with one lady this morning, and she said, she was like, oh, thank you for writing your blog about sleep. So I've been talking about how I've changed my goal with sleep, because I was getting so annoyed about it. Every day I'm like, right, in bed by 10, never in bed by 10. It gets to 10 past 10 and I go, what's the point? Now I might as well just stay up and have a late one. Rather, okay, if I say 10:15, that's more doable for me. And I actually just get better sleep from it. And actually, when I write a benefits card of, all the benefits of getting into bed by 10 or 10:15 rather, now I'm able to see what I'm saying yes to. More energy, less ratty with kids, less grouchy, more productive, so more time with family, all those things, rather than flicking for a phone or watching whatever, that you could be doing at that time. Filming, there's a time and place for a TikTok, but,
Yeah, it's working through it and being consistent, really. And if you think about it, I think it'd be a huge, huge shame. This is my personal way, which is why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. If then you look back at lockdown, which we're slowly kind of creeping our way out of it, that actually you look at then that time and how much time has gone past now since we've been locked down?
Yeah, it's like what, 60 days? I don't know.
8 weeks. And you're like, wow, goodness me, what have you done in 8 weeks? You've done loads. I know you have. I've done loads as well. But if you had to ask yourself, what have you done in eight weeks? What would you, if you had the opportunity, what would you do in 8 weeks? You'd be like, well, yeah, I know there's the children, and then loads of people are working, and NHS and everything else. So, but on a personal level of what you can do with yourself, crikey, it'd be a huge disappointment to me personally if I hadn't have done anything in the 8 weeks, and then we're still going to be locked down for another, I would say, another 4 weeks. So yeah, now's the time to go, right, you put all that groundwork in, now's the time to excel at what you've been doing with that mindset. So you've got a bunch of time that you'd look at, and the same principles then apply to I think your fitness journey. You mentioned at the start, when you're going into the gym, you feel intimidated. You're on the journey, and if you're taking those first steps, you have to plan. I like to plan 4-week periods and then have a rest of a week, and then go into the second 4-week periods. So at least then you can go build on what you want to have, your goals and achievements. And professional athletes will do this as well, as you know, that it's on a yearly cycle of like, right, when am I going to peak? What's my base fitness looking like? Where do I need to peak in time of the year, and at what kind of discipline do I need to do it as well? So they'll look at that as well. And people need to have that as well, of how do you move better in the summer? Yeah, traditionally with clients, I get so many issues, so neck issues in November because of the cold winds coming through, general stiffness, aches and pains really through the winter. September typically gets to have that. It's raining a lot, and it's raining all the time in the UK, but traditionally it's cold and it's wet in kind of September, October. So they're kind of like, oh, achy bones kind of thing. And then it would be just general stiffness then when you get to February. And then March, it's all about backs, lower backs, because everyone's bending over doing gardening work. Then it's rambling, so it's ankle issues. Then it kind of tapers off throughout the summer, but people tend to have more sports related injuries because they're doing more. So you can look at the trends of what I would look at on a kind of fixing the body or maintaining my clients over the years. And yeah, they very much come to traditional kind of markers. So if you look at then a client that's coming in to start off fitness, or where am I going to go for, look at the time of the year and look at the movements that you enjoy in those times of year, and then you can regulate how good or bad you are at those. And it's a slow, gradual process, rather than, oh, I want to get fit, I want to lose some weight. What I've looked at with athletes, and if we can follow the athlete's kind of DNA or process, is that losing weight is a byproduct of fitness. The first instance is eating well. It's all about eating well, the kind of like principles that you look at. If you don't eat well, you eat lousy, you're going to feel lousy. So if you eat well, you get the energy to do stuff. And doing stuff is just movement. So what type of movement is good for you? If you've got an ailment if you've got a bad back, well, you need to make sure that you've got stabilizing movements that help support that. Then staying at the right weight that your body wants to be at. And this is where it comes complicated, is kind of like work with what you've been born with, rather than trying to go, oh, wow, look at that person's body, I want to be like that. Well, actually, if you've got the DNA, similar DNA, like I'm not going to look like Mo Farah because my DNA is nowhere near his. So yeah, I can look very much. What's that?
You never know.
You never know. But you can get to that level, but it takes a lot of dedication. Are you ready to put in that dedication and put the rest of your life on pause to then come to then achieve those goals? Well, yeah, you need support, you need da. So at the levels that you're able to compete at with yourself, you have to be happy with that. And I think that's where the happiness stems. Doing movement that makes you happy. If you do movement that doesn't make you happy, you're not going to be happy. So then that kind of trickles down into one chap that I follow, which he does a podcast called Chasing Excellence. His name's called Ben Bergeron, and he does, I think it's once a week. And I haven't listened to it for a while, actually, which I need to. But he goes on about so many different things. He's a CrossFit coach out in America. And the 5 key principles that he works on, and I was listened to this I came across him about a year and a half ago, maybe a year. Yeah. And the 5 key principles: nutrition, movement, sleep, thoughts. So your thoughts in your head, whether they're positive or negative thoughts, so glass half full, half empty, and then people. So the nutrition, eat well. If you're not, you're going to feel like trash. Your movement, that needs to be, thought about and well executed, and not necessarily the biggest, most powerful movement, but the correct movement for you. Sleep patterns, there's so much evidence now on sleep that it always used to be the placebo effect of, oh, have you had enough sleep? And it's like, there's so much evidence now on sleep, how it affects your kind of mental and physical state. Your thought process, if you're thinking, how did he, in one kind of interview, he said, if someone asks you, hey, how you doing? What's your day like? And you go, well, it's okay. Ooh, that's a negative one. We've all got problems going on every single day. If you just say, yeah, I'm battling, that person's going through a tough day, but actually I've got it and I'm positive about it. And it's going to be there's other words I could use, rubbish day, but I'm going to get through this. And I know that tomorrow's going to be a better day.
Expecting problems, because I always say this: what if problems are actually good things because you learn so much? For example, this time here, in this COVID-19 time, in that I've actually learned that a lot of the ladies have actually got better results from being in this lockdown. Not everyone, but some people have. They've really kind of gone, you know what, there's a lot to be said for this technology stuff, because I can roll out of bed and just do it. Not to think that I am missing the in-person, is what they say a lot of the time. But I did a poll the other day in the group, and it was more people were saying that they were enjoying the live workouts, the flexibility, the fact they can do them when they want. There's no traveling, no parking, just literally rolling out of bed. Most people would say, I would love a mixture of both. But the point is that, yeah, like fitting it into your lifestyle and actually with the problems part of it is that actually, if you can see it as a problem, or you can see it as a great lesson, right? So I've actually learned that actually this is a great opportunity to go, you know what, before you were struggling to find time, right? Yeah, it was. Before it was kids drop off or whatever, 9 o'clock till 5, I'm working, I get home, it's a bit of an awkward time before your session. Do I eat? Do I not? I go home, sort some kids out, whatever, do some stuff, do a few jobs, and I'm out, get back, eat, it's 9 o'clock, repeat. I'm exhausted. Whereas now it's like, I'm working from home 9 to 5, I do your workout at lunchtime, I finish at 5, got 4 hours to do what I want. Like, it's like, wow, like what a change in life since I do another workout. But yeah, problems are good things. You learn the most of them. When you look back at all the problems you've had, think how many good. It's almost like the bigger the problem, the better the lesson. Like
exactly, yeah. And I've spoken to you on a couple of occasions, and the thing that comes out most times is that. And you're not preaching about it, it just pops out, and I can hear it, is that you say you're very efficient with your time. And I think, gosh, that's such a hard thing to do. But actually, if you want to be, this is a tricky one to say, happy or successful or productive, there has to be a degree of planning. And I was very kind of typical of that pre-lockdown, in the sense I was just go, and I try to put as much planning in as possible, which I've done in the last year to then 6 months to then now. All of my small planning efforts have now flourished, and they're like, wow, I'm doing loads of things because I have the time. And yeah, the way that you approach things in your work and how you're able to kind of juggle so many balls is that it's a lot to do with planning and taking on small bite-sized chunks of what you can do, and rolling that down to your clients. So just saying, which you do, I know you do, is small manageable chunks. The videos that you put on with your clients of, if it's just a stretch class, if it's like 5 minutes, perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Why people think that they should do an hour or 45 minutes of exercise, yes, that is good if you're at that level, but actually to slowly cook yourself and give yourself that kind of motivational movement of, say, 5, 10, 15 minutes of movement is amazing. But to do it consistently over the day, and was it the principle of which I heard from a chiropractor yesterday. And I thought I only said this, but she says it as well. If you can brush your teeth twice a day, you can do exercise twice a day. And I was like, oh, I say that. So, it is a key principle. It's like
a few minutes, right? It could be a walk, stretch, because that can sound really, I can never exercise twice a day. But for example, let's say someone does our stretch session, 10, 15 minutes, then they go for a long walk with their family or whatever. That's 2 sessions a day. And actually, like we've had a message this week, one of the ladies did yoga on Tuesday. She was like, wow, I used to hate yoga. I absolutely love this one. I think a part of it was because it wasn't like an hour and a half. Like a lot of yoga sessions are like literally an hour and a half or an hour. And it's a bit like, and even I am. I've probably set a New Year's style resolution to do yoga about 10 times, but it's just a time thing. And I went for a stage. I did baby yoga for a bit, and that actually worked quite well because they enjoyed me just crawling around on the floor and then on my back. But it wasn't quite the yoga effects I was after, I guess. But yeah, if you do have kids and you're like, I need to do exercise, chuck on some yoga. They'll love you just being on the floor with them, honest, like, and just moving your body around, and they'll probably join in.
Yeah, if you think about the amount of movement that a child does, and I'm sure, you'll have a master's degree in child's movement by the end of their 10, and then all of a sudden it'll be teenage movement. You're like, wow, gosh, I think it's such an awesome thing to witness children, how they move and how the body then develops and grows, and the fact that the foot and the Achilles is so vulnerable and so weak, and how it then forms and stiffens up and becomes then their springboard, and the fact then that you go through your life and then it gets less and less and less, and I can't remember the age, I think it was 75 or something, you lose the ability to spring off your Achilles because it doesn't have that energy inside it, or you don't go through that natural movement. So a lot of my clients that I used to work with, we work on the principles of standing up and sitting down, not adapting, but doing it properly. So doing a squat basically out of your chair, and then looking at the kind of like the springy aspect. I was like, excuse me, sir, but have you lost your ability to the spring in your step? And he was like, let's try it. Yes, I have. And I was like, right, we're going to work on that. And slowly but surely we have. And he's a very, very loyal client, which I've been, it's absolute pleasure to work with for 9 years. And he's moving around perfectly. So it's an absolute joy.
Lose it as well, right?
Yeah. Hugely.
But before I forget, you mentioned a few things before, and you said about 4-week cycles, one in terms of like exercise. And I think it's important that say you're intimidated in a gym. My point in that is I walk into a gym, I'm intimidated, or start exercise, I'm intimidated. I'm immediately intimidated, probably because of my thoughts that I should be doing what they're doing, but they've been exercising for longer. So what that 4-week cycle kind of does, or that session, having your planned session, means that you're focusing on what you're doing and actually just aiming to get better than you were yesterday, because it is a you versus you journey. And if you're 1% better than you were yesterday, that's 37 times better in a year, and you're kind of better. Those small habits add up. It's like I've always talked about when I share a transformation. The other week, Michelle and Rita, I shared their pictures, and it's like when you see the picture, it's like, wow, look at that. And I'm like, that averaged at like 0.4 pounds off a week average. Most people lose 0.4 pounds, think it's not working, and some just that switch, that mental switch, and
lose it quick, you'll gain it quick. It's the process of moving and knowledge as well. So the journey, the knowledge you would have put into those people's heads is just phenomenal, because they won't just take your word for it. They'll go off and, if they've got any sense about them, they'll go off and read other books and YouTube. There's so much information on it. You just think, whether that is applicable for them or not, you don't know. Does it underline and enforce what you're saying? Probably yes. So, you just think, great. Okay. So it gives them the knowledge and the education so they can go away and become better movers, be more in control of their body.
Yeah.
You've got this one body, look after it.
Yeah, you mentioned about fitness coming first, and for a lot of that does. I always say with this, like, you've got to find kind of your domino. So for a lot of people, if they get the fitness right, that kind of props up the other two, because they feel better, they get the endorphins going, then they eat better because they feel better. Maybe they're not looking for the endorphins, like rush.
Yeah.
Like now they're feeling better. The focus side of it is doing something fun for you. Again, that can prop up. That could be like sleep. That could be a nap. That could be meditation. All things that are going to help the part of your brain which is dampened down by stress and tiredness, enabling you to make better decisions if you do prioritize self-care and make it a prerequisite rather than a reward. And yeah, that's so important. And you mentioned about like where people are in different types of the year, parts of the year. So some people might say, people won't be gardening at the moment, their lower backs are a bit of an issue. And as soon as you mentioned that, this is just so typical me, but what came into my head was, you also need to consider a menstrual cycle. Like I know this
definitely
the way I work, but a lot of ladies will say, I put on 2 pounds this week and I'm hungrier and I'm really frustrated with myself. And I'm like, if you actually look at the research, no one's ever told you this, but actually the research is not clear. There's not that much research in women compared to men because they're harder to study. When I was at Oxford Brookes, I wanted to do my research pre-diabetes in women and look at resistance exercise and protein and stuff and low calorie diets and just look at the effect of insulin resistance and stuff. But anyway, when I went to my supervisor and said, I want to do it in women, she was like, not a chance. And I was like, why? There's no way you'll get enough volunteers who are women and who are, that's fine, but enough women who are in the same stage of their menstrual cycle, no, not perimenopausal, not in the menopause. They have to be, or you have to choose one group. And that's why it's so hard to research women, because otherwise there's too many contradicting states. Like it might work for some person, but they were in week 4 of their cycle. But my point going back to it is you've got someone beating themselves up for putting on 2 pounds, feeling hungrier, when actually you burn about 300 to 500 calories more when you're in weeks 3 and 4 of a cycle. So when you consider that, I say, there's research out there that showed when they gave people higher protein diets, and also they said to the people, right, on these weeks 3 and 4, plan it, and you're going to give yourself 200 to 300 extra calories of chocolate a day. So you're giving yourself that permission to have it. Oh, so rather than going, don't have it, they kind of want it. And then what they found also is that the cravings are also cultural as well. It seems to be so in like Spain and Italy, people seem to be going, I'm craving cheese. Here, it's like I'm craving more chocolate. And it's just really interesting that the research showed that people who allowed themselves to eat 200 to 300 calories more were able, during weeks 3 and 4 of a menstrual cycle, were able to stick to the diet for longer. Whereas people who were like just sticking to their current diet, like being static with their diet, struggled to stick to it and almost went into that beating themselves up. And there's some other research about diet breaks.
Listen to your body, give it what it needs. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I've got a massive empathy for ladies that go through those change in the whole kind of stages. What I look at with kind of my clients is the age brackets of kind of decades, so 30 to 40 to 40 to 50 and onwards, and what are you most likely to be expecting. So that's why it's a critical question. What age what issues then have you gone through? Is there any other medical conditions, and it all creates a bigger picture, and is really, really tough for ladies at a certain time of their life, and it's not talked enough about, I feel. Same with men and mental health and suicide rates. I think more and more people should talk openly and frankly about their vulnerabilities, and it goes back to then the traditional, I'm going into the gym and I'm going to compete with the person that's in front of me. And it's like, look, you're on your own journey. Whatever issues that you've got, you can be vulnerable, you could open up, and actually your opening up will help someone else and also help yourself as well figure out the issues that you're going to go through and try and not resolve them, but have a better way of dealing with them as well. So I think the more and more studies and more healthy conversations about these issues is really a good thing.
So I think there's two factors that not many people ask questions about, which is sleep and like menopause and menstrual cycle. Really, like I don't know whether it's don't want to know about sleep because there's nothing I can do about it, or sometimes there's some research to suggest that we become lack of sleep becomes so common that we think it's normal now, so we're just learn to live with that, when actually we don't realize that it is impacting our body more than we think, whether that's our hunger, our stress levels, cortisol, our food choices, our perceived reward from food, our weight, whatever, like our blood sugar levels, all these things that are being impacted, but we're just not seeing them with our eyes. That when we actually go into it, and it sometimes does take someone to ask a question to me about that, to delve into it, because the good for news is the same principles apply in terms of making sure we're getting protein in. Resistance exercise is going to help in terms of bone density, like in menopause time. All these things, like the principles do stay the same in terms of calories. It might just be harder to stick to. And fat redistribution, that can have an impact on our mindset, because it's like, oh, I never used to store fat here, and people can go, well, it's not working, but actually, all these things are changing. And I guess it's just looking at, what can I just focus on the process? What do I actually want? Do I want to be happy, or do I want to lose X amount of pounds? Like, do they correlate? If you lose that 4 pounds, you're just going to go, I need to lose another 4 now. What is happiness? Is it being fit, healthy? What do you want to do with what happens when you lose the weight? That's when you'll realize it. So if I ask someone, what's your goal? And they say, I want to lose half a stone. The key question really is, what's different when you lose half a stone? Because that's really what they want. They just think they want that, maybe because of media, whatever. Then you get into the nitty gritty of, I want to be less out of breath. I want to be fitter, stronger. I want to wear the clothes I want to wear to feel more confident. I don't want to keep hiding away from social events. Obviously, we've got no choice at the moment, but hiding away. I used to be very social, to the extent where some people say, you know what, I've never really considered getting into a relationship again after being divorced, whatever. And actually now I thought, you know what, why am I not actually, why don't I have the confidence to do it, and actually just want to be part of a community and get help to do it? Like, whatever it is, there's always underlying reasons, and these reasons have so much motivation attached to them.
Definitely. So, coming into, it's kind of like a plan of your age bracket, your kind of age, to then go, right, if I'm in my 40s and I'm going through this, what are my 50s going to look like? Who do I want to be in my 50s? Then when you step into your 50s, you go, right, what's my plan to step into my 60s? So it's not about the plan of what do I want to do. Yes, it is short-term plans and long-term plans. And as long as you can focus on that. So I know that in my 40s, I'm 41, that my children are a certain age. I then need to be active, and that's what I want to be in my 40s, to then into my 50s, when they are then in their teenagers and they're going to be sprinting rounds and really quite competitive. I need to be even better, because I don't want to compete with them because they're young adults. But I want to win
every game of badminton.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm the best. You're the loser. Yeah, but it's you want to enjoy and embrace their success of their movement and their mental health as well, and then go, right, let's go off running down the beach. So I know that the work that I put in now will massively help me in my 50s, and then hopefully then into my 60s, and then and onwards. So and I think that's a huge question that then ladies, all of us will ask, but particularly with your clients, with ladies, that you that's where it helps you make the right decisions now for the next decade and the decade after.
Yeah, and actually then asking the question, okay, what do I need to do today? And that's why we simplify it down to like kind of 3 habits in here. So what do I need to focus on my food? Is it the snacking? Do I just need to make a rule today and say, I will snack on this food at this time and be okay with that, rather than go, just perfect, don't eat, I'll get things like that. I'm never going to eat potatoes again. Do you like potatoes? Yes, love them. Okay, do you need to give them up then? I don't know. So it's like, okay, if you do that, what's the minimum amount you would need? Twice a week. Perfect. Which days are you going to have them? Monday and Friday, because we have fish and chips. Perfect.
I do exactly the same, but I've never spoken about that at all. I noticed that white potatoes really slowed me down in every aspect. It didn't give me enough energy that I wanted. Pasta gives me a superb amount of energy, but it actually costs me a lot of energy to process it at certain times. Rice, white rice, and everyone goes on about I'm just like, it's so good for me and how it works, that actually I've turned potatoes into a treat, and that is once a week. How it gets cooked doesn't really bother me, but my main goal and excitement, it's really strange to talk about food as an excitement, but is white rice. I'm like, I'm so happy to eat it because it gives me such amount of energy that I'm able to go off and do other things. So it's not about
bashing. It's interesting. Like white rice has always got a big bashing in the media.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it is, if you look in like Asian countries, they just eat white rice and they have the strongest.
They're fantastically lean, and you just think it's the Western world basically, and all the mixing.
It's what we have in between. Like I always say, like, have a potato, have rice, whatever with your meal. Now look at the snack aisle.
Yeah.
You often blame white rice and potatoes, stuff like that, but actually look at the snack aisle. Try and find something that's super healthy in there. And if someone has IBS as well, you mentioned about like digesting. Like someone has like IBS and stuff like that, and they're like, I have to eat too far away from stuff. If you actually lower your fiber, fermentable fiber, like switch brown rice to white, you might actually, and obviously the volume is important, but the actual fermentation in your gut can be reduced, and actually the bloating, etc., is so much better. For example, my wife tries to ban me from eating onions because they repeat on me for a long time, and I know that if I eat like brown rice or something like that, I'm just so like I'm just fermenting all day. I'm just
fantastic.
So I know I've got tendencies for IBS. So if I literally have too much fiber, I'm like mainly like whole grain carbs are like not good for me. But
it's funny, and again the same principle. Listen to your body, listen to what works. I've spoken to dietitians and nutritionists, and very, very exceptional at their work. You're like, wow, how their mind works. I think it's wonderful. I've picked it apart quite a few times. Like, just one more question. And the key thing that keeps coming back is if you do have something, you're only as good as what you can process. So we are not what we eat. And I was like, wow. We are what we can process. So if you think about, and I was reading an article the other day, was it 70% efficiency of your gut? The other 30% is not efficient because you've got leftover bits of food in there which block the way of absorption. So if you think about athletic performance of 30% gain, you think, wow, gosh, how good would you be for 30% gain? Then to the process of eliminating something that might kick you off, you can't just go, all of dairy products. You have to have one particular thing over a concentrated period of time to, again, it goes back to the principle consistency. So if you do suspect that you have an issue with something, isolate it and then carry on with the rest of it for a long period of time. At least then and it's your journey, and then mark it. It's on your hit list, it's on your red list, whether you can bring it back in because your body doesn't have the ability to process the volume of it so much. So I think I was 26. I had a massive reaction to lager. I was at a festival and I was drinking cider, and then I went and drank a pint of lager because they ran out of cider. How dare they? And I had a massive reaction. Everything went puffy, and I sobered up very, very quickly because I thought, gosh, what's going on here? So I just went, and I actually took away loads of parts of my diet for Lent that particular year, which I took out bread, alcohol, chocolate. I wasn't a happy person, and crisps. And I turned into a different person. Neighbors were like, so Richard's brother, how long is he going to stay here for? And I'm like, no, it's me. I lost a truckload of weight which I didn't mean to. I just went, right, I'm just going to stop all this because it's a gut issue. And this was a great period of time, Lent. So I went, didn't go back to lager, didn't go back to bread. I went back to chocolate and crisps. Slowly brought those things back in. So for me, it was a huge test in time. It was very, very dramatic, and I lost a lot of weight. It was the thinnest I wasn't the thinnest I've ever been, but yeah, it was quite a noticeable difference. And actually, yeah, and then I sustained, because I was very big, to then go very, very thin. I then went up to my stable weight, what I would class as my fighting weight.
Yeah, I think the gut's interesting area, because you've got to consider the sleep you've had. If you're lacking sleep, it's going to be compromised. Stress compromises it, IBS, etc. Your ability to digest foods. And it's like one lady, she's come on the program. She switched. All she's done is switched her milk to lactose-free milk. She's now, her IBS is gone. Wow. And she's doing the exercises, fitter, stronger. And it's like, sometimes we don't need to do all these changes, just a small change. But
one little change.
Perfect. Cool. I think we've time's flown, actually.
Yeah, hasn't it?
Cool. So, I think anything else to add to that? I think we've covered quite a bit. I think the key thing to take home is, one, small habits. Just set one habit today, no matter how small, in your food habit, whether that's a fitness habit. Find your domino. Think what makes you feel good. It's like one lady this morning, I forgot to mention this. We had a one-to-one, and she was like, yeah, I'm just struggling a bit at the moment. I'm just tired. And I was like, this is a good thing, because it's actually taught you to value sleep more, right? Because you've just said that when you go to bed early, she feels great. So it's like, okay, how can we possibly go to bed early? When? Okay, let's pick this one day. Okay, I can't choose the day. Okay, let's just go for one day. This week, have one, and then write down how you feel after that. And it was just so relevant to my goal with sleep at the moment, because sleep is just so critical.
Yeah, definitely. No, obviously we'll finish off, but I want to say one little thing. What's helped me is writing down my emotional feeling to the training that I'm doing. I've told you, obviously before we started this interview, that our affinity with running, and I'm not a fan of running at all. I don't know, you're not. I've started running, and I'm noticing a tremendous difference, and I'm absolutely delighted with it. And actually now, I like running. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm writing down a diary of my thought process, and it's small amounts. It's 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, and I'm just enjoying the process of my heart rate going up and monitoring that. But I'm writing down how I feel afterwards, and how traumatic it was. And it's not traumatic, but yeah. So the diary aspect. And I'm not a diary person, and I'm not a runner, and I'm doing it, and it's wonderful. It's a lovely journey. So yeah, I think writing down things
to almost interrupt your habitual thought process, and we do this a lot with our snacking, right? If you write down your feeling after or before you snack, you'll learn a lot more. Was I
very
bored?
Strong? Yeah.
Was I stressed? Then use them. Okay, if your friend came to you and said, I'm bored, would you tell them to go and eat? Probably not. If your friend came to you to say they were stressed, would you tell them to go and eat? Probably not.
Go and drink.
If it's just would you tell them to go and eat? You'd probably go, well, you know what? Bath, have a sleep,
do something else.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, and I hope we've covered a lot there.
Mate, absolute pleasure. Really, thank you very much for suggesting it. I've been excited, and and I'm happy to do it again. So yeah, it's been a lovely experience. So thank you very much.
And you'll be back for a Q&A. We'll sort out a date for that for the ladies as well in our group.
Yeah,
so done really well.
Anytime, let me know.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Rich.
No worries, mate.
Oh, where can people find you, actually, by the way?
Oh, thank you very much. So Richard Tulley Sports Massage Therapy on Facebook. And yeah, all the details are there. There's some strange videos of me helping people with different aspects of self-treating and everything. So yeah, number and details are on there.
Perfect. Brilliant. Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Rich.
Cheers, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye.